All right, go ahead, Jim.
I want to welcome you all this morning to this incredible program on an incredible discovery in the creation of a product that has been absolutely phenomenal for the results that we've all had from it. I want to just chat with you a little bit. This is Presidential Master Coordinator Jim Burke. I want to talk to you a little bit about exactly what's going on here. I spent most of my years running the clinical laboratories in Rapid City, South Dakota, and doing an awful lot of cancer work. And I was a couple of years at the Mayo's Clinic, a couple of years down at the University of Chicago, over to Tarrytown, New York. And I spent a lot of time in the field, a lot of time with this particular subject in my years. And when this product came out, Shaklee Corporation invited me in to really look at this product and the men that created it. I flew into Shaklee and I met a man named Dr. David Sinclair, who was the pathologist at the Harvard Medical School, who had spent years looking for this substance and this product. And after he developed it, some amazing things came out of this. So let's go to the first slide. I want all of you to understand this is an interesting substance. And it's been lying in nature for thousands of years. And probably nobody realized or ever thought about or ever came up with the product to really understand what this substance did. But it is an incredible substance, and you're going to enjoy this presentation. Next slide, please. I first of all want you to be introduced to Dr. David Sinclair and the work that this man did for a lot of years. He was director at the Paul F. Glenn Laboratories for Molecular Biology and Aging, associate professor of pathology at Harvard Medical School, and has spent a lifetime working on the secrets of aging. The man was a phenomenal man. When I met him and he went through this, he went through all the work he'd gone through, but he believed that there were some things in nature that would actually have an effect on reversing the aging process. And he knew if he could find it, we might really have an incredible situation here if we could actually change the aging process of the human body. So out of this came some more work on telomeres. Now at the bottom there in the left-hand corner, you'll see the telomere. The telomere is at the end of the chromosome, and it actually acts like a cap to keep that chromosome together. Now, the interesting thing here is when you start studying all this, this has a huge effect on the deterioration and the aging of the human body. Now, if this cap, for some reason or another, starts deteriorating, and you can look at the pictures down at the bottom left-hand corner, the cap actually starts to come off, and which then releases the chromosomes to break up, which the chromosomes are very important to the whole makeup of your body and the longevity and the genetic makeup of your human body. Next slide, please. Now, the telomeres are an incredible discovery. And using and the relation of this product with the things that have actually come out of this has been phenomenal. So there's a lot of things go into this cellular deterioration and aging of the human body. And without the telomeres, the main part of the chromosomes, the part of with your genetic essential material, gets shorter, and each time a cell divides, so the telomeres allow the cell to divide without losing the genes if you keep those telomeres on. But somehow or another, when those telomeres come off, there's a huge effect on the genetic material. Without the telomere chromosome ends, could have another total effect on the genetic blueprint of your body. Next slide, please. Now, this telomere connection has not been known for a long time. And a lot of work went into this realization that these telomeres are something brand new in this whole area of body cellular deterioration. Next slide, please. Now, the discovery of the telomeres came from Dr. Blackman, who in 1912 got a Nobel Prize in medicine for the discovery of the telomeres. Now, this is relatively new, and all the work that's being done since that time, we start realizing the importance of being able to keep the telomeres from deteriorating. Now, we believe this can be done. We believe that this is a possibility that can probably be done, but the work goes on. But we do know that there are things that will actually help preserve the telomeres integrity and give us the possibility of a lot longer possible life. Next slide, please. Now, Dr. David Sinclair, when I flew out to California and we met the man, explained to us, it's a molecule so tall, so tiny that it penetrates almost any cell and organism. Now, remember, this is at the cellular level, people. This is where everything happens. Now, some people don't realize the cells make up an organ. And when cells start to die, the organ starts to die. The key is, can you keep the cells in the organ functioning and not aging and dying at a terrible rate, which really affects that organ? So Dr. David Sinclair told us that we see a molecule so small that it penetrates almost the cell of every organism. Now, this is the substance in Vivix. It continues into the cell membrane to the cell genetic machinery. There, resveratrol selectively switches on a gene that is a survival of the organism. Now, this gene is something to really consider here, because this is the aging gene. This is the one, for some reason, goes inactive. And these genes involved in many of the progressions of disease and blocking and bacteria and viral growth all seem to be linked together. Next slide, please. Now, at the time of Dr. David Sinclair's work at MIT and the continuing work that's going on this, along came Dr. Greasy, who also worked for a long time on this at Cornell University, which the work is still going on because they really believe that this is the substance that could have a real human effect on the longevity of the human body because of what it does and how the body responds to it at a cellular level. Next slide, please. Now, we want you to really understand what this is, and this is a cutaway of a cell. And you need to realize that Vivix has to be produced in a way that the cell will accept it. And so when the cell accepts it, it comes into the cell and it activates that NORF2. That NORF2 is the gene that you need to realize affects the long-term aging and deterioration of that cell. Every cell in the body contains NORF2. For some reason or another, it goes inactive. And when it goes inactive, you start to have cellular deterioration. Now, you have very much cellular deterioration, and then you're going to have organ problems. You have organ problems, you're going to have health problems. Vivix activates this key genetic regulator and helps turn down the cellular aging. Now, we know this. There's a lot of work been done on this. Dr. David Sinclair showed us all the research that had been done, all the clinicals that had been done. why it works. And the reality is the substance resveratrol contains some things that when it enters the body seems to trigger that NORF2 to get active again, which affects your immune balance, your detoxification and enzymes, your anti-inflammatory, and then that gene that it basically controls the whole cell. Next slide, please. So when we start to look at the death that begins in a cell, and you got to remember, people, everything comes from the cell. There's millions of cells in your body. There are many of them differentiated, but you got to understand when an organ has too much cellular damage, it starts to lose function. Well, you start losing an organ. Each organ in your body is dependent upon other organs. And so if one organ starts to malfunction, then the rest of them are going to be really affected by this. Now, the key here is keeping these cells functioning, healthy, and alive so they can do their work. Now, they just got to realize this really starts to affect the aging of the cell. Now, when you affect the aging of the cell, you affect the aging of any organism in your body, and then you start to look at the longevity that possibly could come from this. DNA is the genetic blueprint in the cell. It controls normal cell function, replicates and repairs that cell. Now, all the years that I was doing cancer work, if that cell gets damaged, now, a lot of you probably pay little attention to this, like most people probably do, but a lot of foods that we eat have a lot of free radicals in them. And that means substances that are very deadly to the body, and we shouldn't be eating a lot of this stuff, but we do. And it does cause damage to your cells. Next slide, please. Now, these genetic regulators are so important to keep together. It controls the balance of the DNA, damage and repair, protects the cells, declining age, activates the cells under stress conditions, and Vivix enhances our genetic regulators. Now, this is huge, people. I just can't tell you how huge this is. In all my years in the clinical labs, when I was studying a particular tumor in the body, and we were trying to analyze what in the world would turn this around, or what happened to that cell. Well, it got damaged. It got damaged from free radicals. Now, once it gets damaged, it damages the regulator, and that cell starts to die, and it starts to make into a cell that starts duplicating more bad cells, and pretty soon you got a lot of bad cells. Could you ever turn this around? Could you ever stop this? That was the mystery. And today, Vivix enhances our regulators. Next slide, please. Now, the components, the declining cellular energy production is the mitochondria. The mitochondria is our nuclear power plant, highly concentrated in the brain, muscles, and the organs. Antioxidants protect the mitochondria from declining age. When damage creates free radicals and probably results in an onset of a disease. It's all tied up here, people. It's all tied up in the cell with the process of the damage of the cell. So anything that would interrupt this, anything that would tend to change that, is a tremendous product. Next slide, please. Now, you want to look at when death begins from accumulating a lot of this advanced changes, cross-linked proteins, create a sludge leading into the cell death associated with diets high in sugar and carbs. Now, one thing Dr. David Sinclair explained to us, sugar and carbs have a tremendous effect on your cells. We were never designed to eat sugar. like we are today. And what they've done to sugar is made it a substance that's very hard on the human body because it is not designed by the body to utilize, not the way it's processed today. So you end up with a lot of things here that you're trying very hard not to have happen. So number one, diets high in sugar and carbs today have a huge effect on that cell. And I'm telling you, I'm watching so many different kinds of cancers being developed today, and so much of it, and nobody's really thought on this whole thing. What in the world is going on out there? Well, we're consuming too much sugar in simple carbs. Next slide, please. So this is really a super grape. It's not a grape. It looks more like a plum. But it contains a lot of phenols that we don't find anywhere else. And the quality of this particular thing that we call the muscadine contains these phenols. Now, you got to remember, this is not a high amount of these grapes available. Shackley bought up the next 10 years supply of it, and we obviously are taking all the ingredients from this grape. But it's all those superphenols that we still don't know everything about. But we know that this is an incredible source of this product. Next slide, please. So I'm telling you, the DNA damage is something all of you, we would need to spend more time to explain. You got to protect yourself. Now, you know skin cancer comes from too much exposure to UV radiation. I mean, you all know that. And you all should wear sunscreen to protect your skins. Well, that is only one area of DNA damage. This is happening throughout your body, is getting affected by so much DNA damage from a lot of other things. And I just want you to realize today, this protection that all of you need to think about is so incredibly important. And here is a substance that shows great promise in a lot of different functions of the body, and possibly what could really affect long-term health. Next slide, please. So again, I want you to recognize the fact that genetic regulators contribute to the aging. Related cellular deterioration by controlling the dynamic balance between damage and repair. This is a huge slide, people. I just can't tell you enough. And the thing that really bothers me is that there's not more that a physician will do to talk to people about the diet they're eating, their exposure to a lot of foods that have such a deteriorating effect on the human body, and the possibility that there is a product out there that does interfere with this process and could actually allow us to have a lot longer, healthier life. It's a tremendous thing, people. And I just can't tell you enough how proud we were at Shackley when we got this product from Dr. David Sinclair, and we became the sole producer of it. Nobody else will ever have this product. This is something that we pride ourselves in. There's a special process in developing it, special manufacturing, and of course, access to the muscadine. Next slide, please. So when I explained to you about the mitochondria, and I explained to you the mitochondria is such an important substance in your cells that control the heat and the temperature. And this is a control. This is with just a cheap resveratrol that's on the market today. But you'll notice Vivix has a marked effect on the body's mitochondria, which is just showing up in this study right here that Shackley did. Next slide, please. So aging is something that all of us are going to fight. But aging and staying healthy is another world. You realize today how many people never reach an age of 50 or 60 years old. Their body deteriorates. They end up with a lot of genetic tearing down in their cells. And a lot of people, the problem is they just absolutely never get to the realization that there could be a quality of life. And there's a lot of things that we today are continuing to work on to start that function. Vivix is a very unusually great product. It's a substance that we were lucky that they found. We're lucky that we got the product, that Harvard did not decide to manufacture it. They, of course, most of the colleagues probably couldn't, and give it to us and let us go on and do the developing of it. We've got all the clinicals on it. We stand by our clinicals. We continue to do more work on it. Now we've hired Dr. Blackman to come in because she's the one that's discovered telomeres. They're starting to work on what effect it has on the telomeres in your body. So Vivix is going to have a long story here. A story that I think we're going to year after year discover more and more and more of the benefit of this substance. Now, I just can't tell you enough. There's nothing like it I know of today in the world. And there's nothing more important than reaching the cellular level of your body and being able to maintain a higher quality cell, an active cell that doesn't age so fast, that doesn't have all the viral problems with it, that the DNA doesn't start to break down. This stuff is huge, people. And I think the longer that Shackley continues to work on this, the more we're going to find more and more benefits that this product could have on the human body. But we have it today. It comes in, next slide, please. I think it comes today in a liquid, which I love the taste of it, and it comes in a capsule. You have two choices of how you want to take the product. I take 2 capsules a day. I always have done that once the capsules came out because of convenience. But either way, the capsules are a little more concentrated. You get a little higher dosage because they did concentrate the resveratrol more. But I'm telling you, all of you, if you ever found something that will make a marked effect on your health and a long-term benefit to the aging of your body, this has got some tremendous promise. And I think it's going to continue on, because anytime you have a product that's got this possibility, a lot of more things are going to be discovered that possibly could be of a great benefit in this process. Nobody wants to age any faster than we're designed to do. Nobody wants to lose their health. Nobody wants to have the deterioration of a body that possibly we wouldn't have. So combined with a diet that changes, and the sugars and the carbs get out of your diet, and the fats, and starting to realize you could live to 150 years old with quality life. That is a possibility. And so this is the beginning of introducing you to a product that's designed around the aging process of your body. The clinicals that we got, the references we got, the work that's been done on this is there for you. But I'm going to tell you today, we have seen some tremendous results from this product since this product has been introduced. And we today are the sole producer of this product. Thank you very much. This is Presidential Master Coordinator Jim Burke, thanking you for being on this program with me.